We're grateful for each and every one of you. Let us know where in the world you're tuning in from. We'd love to hear from you in the comments. Let's begin. People always talk about the moment they realize their marriage isn't what they thought it was. For me, it wasn't a dramatic fight, or a tear-stained confession, or some stranger calling me with news that shattered my world. It was a laugh that didn't belong to me anymore. I heard it on a Tuesday night while dropping off a charger at Amber's office. I wasn't spying. I genuinely thought she'd left it at home. But as I stepped into the hallway, I froze. Amber's laugh came spilling through her cracked office door, softer than her normal laugh, almost shy. The kind she used years ago when she was still learning me, still choosing me. And she wasn't alone. A man's voice overlapped hers, low, joking, far too comfortable. My chest tightened. I didn't walk in. I didn't accuse. I stood there long enough to hear her say, "Stop, you're going to get me in trouble," followed by that same soft laugh again. That was the moment something inside me shifted. But I went home quietly, because that was also the moment I knew I needed proof, not emotions. For 3 weeks after that night, I watched her routines more closely than ever. Amber and I had always had different rhythms. She worked in marketing, surrounded by people, constant conversations, creative brainstorms. I ran inventory management for a supply chain company, spreadsheets and silence all day. She thrived in energy. I thrived in order. But suddenly her energy had changed. Her phone was always face down. Her showers got strangely long. She wore perfume to team meetings. She started humming again in the mornings. Humming, the same thing she used to do when she was falling in love with me. Every night, I lay awake next to her, pretending to be asleep, pretending I didn't hear the notification pings she tried to muffle. But here's the thing. Amber was smart, but she wasn't smarter than her team leader's wife. And that is where everything truly began. I met Claire, wife of Amber's team leader, completely by accident. Or maybe fate has sharp edges and perfect timing. It was at the grocery store. I'd gone in to grab cereal. She was staring blankly at canned soup, phone in hand, shoulders tense. When she finally looked up and recognized me from one of Amber's office holiday dinners, her eyes widened with something between relief and dread. "Logan, can we talk?" she whispered. I didn't know what she meant, but my stomach knew. My bones knew. I followed her to the cafe area, sat down across from her, and watched her trembling hands. She didn't waste time. "My husband, and your wife," she swallowed hard. "Something's going on, and I think you deserve to see this." When she slid her phone across the table, I felt my entire body turn to stone. Messages, inside jokes, plans made in deceptively casual wording. Amber telling her team leader, her boss's boss, that she needed another late night to prepare the pitch deck, followed by heart emojis. And the pictures, nothing explicit, nothing physical, but emotional intimacy deeper than touching. A picture of them sharing a drink, her hand almost brushing his wrist. Another one, where Amber wrote, "Don't worry. Logan thinks it's a team happy hour." My lungs stopped working for a moment. Claire watched me carefully, like she expected me to break apart right there. But I didn't break. Something colder took over me. Something methodical. Something patient. A quiet thunder. "I want to expose the truth," she whispered. "But I want to do it the right way." I nodded slowly. Me too. And that night became the start of a partnership formed out of betrayal, anger, and something deeper, shared humiliation, shared injustice. We planned. We collected more screenshots. We tracked their work dinners. And with every piece of evidence, I felt a part of myself sharpen into something I never thought I could become. Not a violent man. Not a yelling man. Not a desperate man. A man who would choose the right moment. A moment they would never forget. And that moment was coming. Because Amber kept drifting further into her fantasy world of team drinks and late-night chats, not realizing I was building something far stronger than suspicion. I was building the truth. By the 4th week, Claire texted me. "I have something bigger. We need to meet." I agreed. We chose a public place. Not the one from your original scene, a different spot entirely. A quiet Italian restaurant on the riverfront, dim lights, warm ambience. I sat across from her, not as enemies, not as strangers, but as two people whose lives were being rewritten without their permission. She finally lifted her purse, pulled out her phone, and tapped an album. When the first picture appeared, my heart punched my ribs. Amber wasn't just emotionally leaning toward the edge. She had stepped over it. Another drink. Another hand on her elbow. Another smile, directed at someone who wasn't me. I closed my eyes for a moment. Inhaled. Exhaled. Claire touched my arm. Whatever you decide, I'll back you. I opened my eyes. Oh, I know exactly what I'm going to do. My voice didn't shake. It didn't break. It was the voice of a man who had finally reached the point where pain becomes clarity. Revenge wasn't rage. It was precision. And Amber had no idea the night she'd been looking forward to, the team happy hour she thought was harmless fun, was going to be her reckoning. Because her story of lies was about to collide with the truth I'd been waiting to reveal. And I was done pretending not to know. Claire and I didn't need dramatic speeches or plotting sessions filled with rage. Most of our conversations were quiet, careful, and painfully calm. That's what betrayal does. It stops the shouting and replaces it with silence that feels sharper than knives. The night before everything unfolded, I sat in my car outside my own house for nearly 20 minutes, staring at the porch light Amber had left on for me. Something she always used to do, back when we were both trying. Back when simple routines felt like love and not guilt management. When I finally went inside, she was in the kitchen packing leftovers, humming to herself again, wearing a sweater I gave her on our 5th anniversary. The sound made something twist in my stomach. She turned around, smiling like nothing was wrong. You're home early. I finished up quicker than expected. I replied, keeping my tone steady. She moved toward me and brushed her hand along my arm. It was the same gesture that once made me melt. Now it just felt rehearsed, like she was trying to keep up the illusion. You okay? She asked gently. I nodded. Just tired. She accepted that too easily. That hurt more than anything. She used to notice everything. My moods, my silences, my stress. Now she barely searched my eyes. She was living in 2 different worlds, and I was only part of the one she used for stability. But the worst part, even knowing everything, I still loved her. That's the part people never admit out loud. Love doesn't turn off when you uncover the truth. It just gets bruised until it finally collapses. The next day was the team happy hour. Amber got ready as if preparing for a date. Careful curls, subtle perfume, that fitted navy blouse she wore whenever she wanted to look effortlessly stunning. I leaned on the bedroom doorframe, watching her adjust her earrings. Meeting the whole team tonight? I asked. Yep, she said cheerfully. We landed a big project, so it's just a little celebration. You don't have to wait up. She was too casual, too relaxed, too sure I was still the clueless husband she could manage with a few half-truths. I smiled softly. Have fun. She kissed my cheek and grabbed her purse. Love you, Logan. You too. I replied, my voice even. But in my chest, I felt something cold settle deeper. Because I knew exactly where she'd be, and who would be with her. But she didn't know where I would be. 2 hours later, Claire and I arrived at the riverfront restaurant. Not the place Amber went to. This was different. More discreet, quieter, perfect for what was coming. Claire sat across from me, her expression composed but tired. Her marriage, like mine, was breaking in slow motion. You ready? She asked, a hint of sympathy in her eyes. Ready enough, I answered. After tonight, things will change. I'm counting on it. She nodded, then pulled out her phone again. New screenshots. I felt my chest tighten. Amber had texted her team leader's number, saved under a fake project name. Heading in. Can't wait to unwind with you guys. It wasn't incriminating on its own, but the tone was familiar, flirty, comfortable. And then the next message. Wish it could just be us, but maybe later. That one hit me like a punch. Claire put her phone down carefully. I'm sorry. I know this is a lot. I wasn't angry. I wasn't shouting. I wasn't even shaking. I felt strangely clear. Tonight, I said quietly, I'm done being the placeholder husband. Claire studied me for a long moment. What exactly are you planning? I exhaled slowly, letting months of hurt leave my lungs. It's not about destroying her life. I'm not that person. But she needs to see what she's been risking, and she needs to see it without a safety net. You want to confront her in front of me, Claire said softly. Yes. And you want her to walk into it without warning. Yes. Logan, that's going to hit her like a train. I looked her directly in the eyes. That's the point. Claire didn't argue. She understood that kind of pain. We sat in silence for a moment until the waiter came by, refilled our glasses, and walked away. Claire leaned forward. I'll back you. but not out of revenge anymore. Because honestly, I deserve answers too. He lied to me just as easily as she lied to you. I nodded. We'll get them tonight. 10 minutes later, Claire's watch buzzed. She looked down and whispered, she just arrived at their bar. I took a breath. The kind you take before jumping into cold water. She won't be there long, I said quietly, because while she was drinking, laughing, and clinking glasses, I had already sent her a message. Need to talk. At Willow Point Bistro. It's important. I could imagine her confusion, her little frown, her panic, not because of me, but because she'd have to leave her team leader earlier than planned. Good. Let her feel the first ripple of what she created. Claire watched me carefully. You look calm. I'm not calm, I said. I'm focused. And then, as if the universe wanted to emphasize the moment, the restaurant door opened. Not her yet, but close. The energy shifted. My heart steadied. Amber was on her way. She thought she was coming to handle a misunderstanding. She had no idea she was walking into the truth she'd been running from. Her world was about to tilt. And for the first time since all this began, I was ready to meet her at the edge. Amber texted me exactly 12 minutes after I sent the message. Amber, everything okay? Amber, why are you at Willow Point? Amber, do you need me to come there? I didn't answer, because silence can be louder than any accusation. Across from me, Claire watched the unreadable expression on my face. She knew what silence meant. She'd lived through it too. Those moments when you realize you're no longer begging someone to love you right. You're simply letting them reveal who they've already chosen to be. She's scared, Claire said softly. She should be, I replied, not out of fear for her safety. Nothing we were doing crossed any line. No raised voices, no threats, no insults, just truth. And truth hurts in a way no harsh word ever could. I could picture Amber rushing out of the bar, her hair bouncing, cheeks flushed from 2 glasses of wine and 1 thrill of attention. I could imagine her telling her coworkers, my husband needs me. I'll be back, with that practiced concerned tone she used whenever she lied. But life has a way of forcing people to walk straight into the consequences they thought they'd outrun. Claire placed her phone on the table, screen up. She's on the move. Her location just pinged. I nodded once. I wasn't nervous. I wasn't shaking. I wasn't even angry anymore. I felt emptied out, the kind of empty that makes room for clarity. Amber's betrayal didn't just show me who she was. It showed me what I had ignored. Her drifting attention, her new priorities, her hunger for thrill disguised as career networking. I had spent years being steady, reliable, loyal, but somewhere along the way, she decided reliability wasn't exciting enough. And tonight she would see what it looked like when this steady husband stops being the safety net. Through the restaurant window, I finally saw her. Amber stepped out of her rideshare, smoothing her hair, checking her reflection in her phone screen. Her blouse shimmered under the streetlights, and she clutched her purse tightly, as if it held whatever lies she needed to keep her life in balance. She scanned the entrance, completely unaware of what waited inside. Claire let out a slow breath. This is it, Logan. I stood up, but only slightly, just enough to gather myself, not enough to make a scene. I want her to see us sitting together. That's all. You don't want to stand? Confront her up front. Claire asked. No. She needs to walk toward the truth, not be dragged into it. Claire nodded. Then we sit. So we did. Side by side? No. Across from each other. Exactly the way she would see us when she entered. Exactly the way betrayal sits between 2 strangers turned allies. And right on cue, the hostess opened the door for Amber. Her heels clicked through the entryway. A soft gust of cold air followed her. She smiled faintly, as if she was expecting me to be at the bar waiting with flowers and apologies for bothering her evening. Her eyes landed on our table, and everything inside her froze. The smile dropped first, then the color in her cheeks, then her steps. Her purse slipped slightly from her shoulder as her brain scrambled to make sense of the image. Her husband, her team leader's wife, sitting together, talking, calm, composed, serious. She looked like she'd walked in on a courtroom she didn't know she was on trial in. I didn't wave her over. I didn't gesture. I let the truth call her on its own. Should I stand to greet her? Claire whispered. No, I said. Let her come to us. Amber swallowed visibly and walked toward the table, slow at first, then quicker as panic crawled into her eyes. When she reached us, she tried to smile, but it came out warped. Logan, what's going on? Claire, why are you both here? Her voice sounded like she already knew the answer. She just hoped saying it out loud wouldn't make it real. I leaned back slightly, keeping my tone even. Sit down, Amber. She hesitated. This is weird. Did something happen? Is someone hurt? Claire's eyes stayed locked on hers. Yes, someone is hurt. Amber blinked rapidly. Ooh, Claire didn't look away. Both of us. Amber's breath hitched. I didn't raise my voice, didn't accuse. I simply reached into my jacket pocket and placed my phone on the table, screen dark, but loaded with screenshots Claire had shared. Amber stared at it like it was a ticking bomb. Logan, she whispered, please tell me this isn't what I think it is. It's exactly what you think, I replied. Her hand trembled. I can explain, she said quickly, the classic phrase of someone who has spent too long practicing excuses. Claire cut in gently but firmly. No more explanations. Not tonight. Amber shook her head desperately. It's not what it looks like. He's my boss. He's just mentoring me. We're just close because... I calmly pressed my phone screen. The messages lit up. Her words. Her emojis. Her plans. Her secrets. Amber's breath shattered. She covered her mouth as tears rushed into her eyes. Logan, I'm so sorry. Please, You didn't plan to get caught, I said quietly. She sobbed harder. No, it wasn't like that. I swear. I was just lonely. You've been so busy, and you seemed so distant, and I didn't know how to talk to you. Claire spoke then, voice steady. You didn't talk to your husband. You talked to mine. Amber flinched as if the words were a slap. Everything she'd built, the lies, the excuses, the carefully balanced double life, was crumbling right in front of her. And she knew it. Can we please talk privately? She begged me. I shook my head slowly. No, not tonight. Her tears spilled. Please, I'll do anything. Just don't walk away like this. I didn't move. Didn't soften. Didn't unfold the anger or the heartbreak. I simply said the truth she had earned. Amber, tonight, you're going to sit with the consequences, not run from them. She sank into the chair, finally, defeated. Her world had just tilted, and we weren't done. Amber sat across from us with her hands shaking so badly she had to grip the edge of the table. Her mascara smudged, her eyes red, her breathing uneven. She looked like someone who'd been dropped into cold water without warning. But I wasn't there to argue. I wasn't there to yell. I wasn't there to punish. I was there to close a door she never thought I'd have the courage to close. Claire remained silent, arms crossed gently, her hurt contained but visible. She wasn't enjoying this. She wasn't getting satisfaction from Amber's panic. She was simply there to witness the truth that had been buried under months of lies. Amber finally wiped her cheeks and whispered, Logan, please talk to me. I breathed in slowly, keeping my voice controlled. I'm listening, I said, but I'm not responsible for what you chose to do. She leaned forward urgently. It wasn't a relationship. It wasn't physical. It was just stupid messages. I didn't mean for it to go this far. I didn't know how to tell you I needed more from us. I held her gaze. Needing more isn't a problem. Lying is. Hiding is. Replacing conversations with this. Her shoulders crumbled. It just felt exciting, she choked out. I felt noticed again, and I thought if you found out, you'd stop loving me. Claire let out a quiet breath. So instead of fixing what was broken, you broke more. Amber closed her eyes in shame. I didn't want to kick her while she was down, but I owed myself honesty. When you started hiding your phone, I said softly, I thought you were stressed. When you stayed late at work, I thought you were just exhausted. I kept giving you grace because that's what partners do. Her bottom lip trembled, and I kept taking advantage of it. She finally understood everything she'd risked. Good. But this wasn't revenge by destruction. It was revenge by clarity. I reached into my jacket and pulled out a folded sheet of paper. Not legal papers, not a dramatic gesture, just a printed plan I'd created years ago when we dreamed about buying a house together. Our goals, our future timeline, the life we said we'd build. I slid it toward her. She stared at it like it hurt her eyes. This, I said quietly, was the future I was working toward, the one I thought we were building. But I can't be the only one carrying it. Tears spilled down her cheeks again. I want that too. I just messed everything up. You did, I replied calmly. But whether you change, or Whether this ends depends on what you do from this moment on. She looked terrified. Are you leaving me? I didn't answer immediately. I wasn't rushing. I wasn't dramatic. I wasn't cruel. I was honest. I'm stepping back, I said finally. I'll stay with my brother for a while. You need time to figure out why you needed someone else to feel alive. And I need time to see if I can trust you again. Amber's entire body sagged. Please, can I fight for us? She whispered. That decision isn't made tonight, I replied. Tonight is about the truth. And this, I gestured to Claire, is the truth. Claire stood then. She wasn't there to rub salt into wounds. She was there to reclaim her own dignity. Logan, she said gently, you don't owe her anger. You owe yourself peace. Amber cried harder as Claire walked toward the exit. I stood next. Amber grabbed my hand desperately. Please don't go home angry. I looked at her with steady eyes. I'm not angry anymore. That's the problem. Her grip loosened. I'm leaving, I said, not to punish you, but because I refuse to compete with someone who shouldn't have been in our marriage to begin with. She broke into quiet sobs. I walked out of the restaurant, the cold night air hitting me like a reset button. The city lights blurred slightly, not from sadness, but from relief. This wasn't destruction. It was direction. Amber wanted excitement. She wanted thrill. She wanted to feel chosen. Now she would have to choose, for real. And, for the first time in a long time, I chose myself.